My fiancée and I had been together for about 5 years, engaged for almost 3. We had a wedding date set, everything booked, and I really thought we were on the same page. Turns out I was dead wrong. About 6 weeks ago, she told me she was going on this trip to Europe with her old college friends. She called it a trip of a lifetime. I didn't see a problem with it. I mean, I wasn't going to stop her from traveling with friends. I even drove her to the airport, helped with her bags, kissed her goodbye, and wished her a great time, and that's when she dropped it on me, like it was nothing. We need to take a break. Not a sit-down conversation, not a discussion, just a casual bombshell as we walked toward the security line. I stood there stunned, thinking, what the hell do you mean, a break? But before I could even process it, she waved goodbye and disappeared through security to AT first. I thought maybe it was just nerves about traveling. But when I tried to call her later, I realized she had blocked me. Phone, text, social media, everything. I couldn't reach her at all. That's when it hit me. This wasn't some slip of the tongue. She meant it. She had gone off to Europe, cut me off completely, and decided our break was real that I gave a few days, hoping she'd snap out of it. But after 5 days of complete silence, I was done. I wasn't about to sit around waiting for her to decide when I was worthy of her time again. She made her choice, so I made mine. I canceled everything. The venue, the catering, the flowers. Pulled the plug on the wedding. And I took it further. She wasn't moving in with me when she got back, either. That was supposed to happen in March. But nope. She'd have to figure that out on her own. Weeks passed. Not a word from her. Then, out of nowhere, she calls me, using a different number, obviously. She tells me she's flying back Thursday morning. Gives me her flight details, and acts like nothing happened. Like she hadn't ghosted me for 6 weeks. I let her finish, then said, "What's that got to do with me?" The silence on the other end was priceless. She didn't know what to say, and I didn't stick around to hear it. I blocked her, same as she did to me. After that, I figured it was time to let people know. In our friends and family group chat, I dropped a message. Hey, just letting everyone know the wedding is canceled. And so is our relationship. Didn't expect it to blow up like it did. But man, people had questions. So I told them the truth. How she went off to Europe. Decided we needed a break. Then blocked me for 6 weeks. Everyone was shocked. Some were even angry on my behalf, which honestly felt good. It was nice to see people backing me up. Then, around 2 p.m., she finally jumped into the chat. At first, she just asked me to call her so we could talk about everything. I wasn't having it. I told her she could explain herself right there in front of everyone. She didn't like that. Said it was between us, not for everyone else. But in my mind, she made it public the second she walked out and cut me off. She tried messaging me a few more times privately, but I kept it short. I wasn't in the mood for excuses. By then, the decision was final. She was begging me to pick her up from the airport so we could talk this out, like seriously, as if nothing had happened. I told her straight up, that was your plan, not mine. None of this was my plan. And I meant it. After everything she pulled, there was no way I was going to run to the airport like some fool. T.O. be honest, part of me was still waiting for her to drop some kind of explanation, something that would make it all make sense. I guess I wanted to believe there was a reason, some justification for why she treated me like that. But as the hours went by, I realized there wasn't going to be a reason. She wasn't coming back with some grand apology or some big misunderstanding to clear everything up. She made her choice, and now I had to live with that. And so the next few days, I focused on getting my life back on track. I wasn't about to let this ruin me. I started sorting through our shared accounts, making sure everything was split up, and yeah, I changed the locks on my apartment. The last thing I needed was her showing up unannounced, thinking she could just waltz back into my life. I was done with that. I even started looking at some trips of my own. I figured, if she could run off to Europe for 6 weeks, maybe I should take some time for myself too. Honestly, I deserved it after all the crap she put me through. Anyway, that's where things stood. She'd be back in a couple of days. But I wasn't going to be there waiting. She could figure out her own way home. As far as I was concerned, This chapter of my life was over, and I was moving on to better things. All right, so let me tell you what happened next, because things got wild pretty quick. After I made my peace with the fact that the wedding was off, I figured it was only a matter of time before Sarah tried to reach out again. I was ready for it. But what I didn't expect was how fast she'd try to play the victim card. IT all started when I got this message from one of our mutual friends, Emily. Now Emily's cool. She's always been straight with me, but this time she seemed hesitant, like she didn't really want to get involved. But she sent me a screenshot from another group chat. One I obviously wasn't in. IT with Sarah, talking to her friends, painting the whole thing like I was the one who overreacted at IN the chat. She said she'd been so stressed about the wedding and needed space to clear her head. She even wrote, I didn't mean for the break to last that long, but I thought he would understand. And then there was the real gem. I just needed to figure out if I was ready for marriage, but he canceled everything before I could talk to him. I almost laughed when I read that. She blocked me on everything for 6 weeks, then acted like I'm the one who didn't give her a chance to talk? Nah, that's not how this works. Reading those messages, my blood boiled. She was playing the whole poor me card, telling everyone I was being irrational, that I rushed into canceling the wedding. At that point, I knew I couldn't let her keep spinning the story. I wasn't going to sit back and let her rewrite history, S.O. I went straight into the main group chat, the one with our close friends and family, where everyone was still buzzing about the wedding cancellation. And I cleared the air that I wrote. Look, I just want everyone to know the truth here. Sarah decided we were taking a break without talking to me. She blocked me for 6 weeks. And now she's trying to act like this is some kind of miscommunication. I canceled the wedding because I wasn't going to sit around waiting for someone who didn't respect me enough to even have a conversation. Immediately, people started replying with support, saying how messed up the whole situation was. Sarah stayed silent in the chat for about an hour, but eventually she chimed in with some weak excuse about how she didn't think it would go this far and how she never meant to hurt anyone. No accountability. No real apology. Just damage control. That's when my buddy Jake jumped in. He straight up called her out in front of everyone. He said, Sarah, you can't just drop a break on someone, disappear for weeks, and expect everything to be fine when you come back. That's not how relationships work. Honestly, I was relieved someone else said it. I was tired of constantly defending myself. But here's where things got interesting. Sarah's friend Megan, who I always suspected was shady, decided to back her up. Megan starts saying how Sarah's been through a lot, how wedding pressure can really mess with your head. Basically trying to paint Sarah as a victim of stress and anxiety. Now I get it. Weddings are stressful. But come on, that's not an excuse to block your fiancé and go radio silent for 6 weeks while partying in Europe. Megan kept going, saying stuff like, you should have given Sarah more time to process everything. Maybe you acted too quickly by canceling the wedding. That's when I lost it. I wasn't about to let some third party, who wasn't even in a relationship, tell me how I should have handled Adi, so I replied, Megan, with all due respect, you don't know the half of it. This isn't about wedding stress. It's about the fact that Sarah blocked me, cut me off completely, and didn't bother to talk to me once during her whole trip. I tried, I called, I texted, I got nothing. How much more time was I supposed to give her? Another 6 weeks? A year? If Sarah didn't want to be with me, she could have said that, but instead, she disappeared and expected me to just sit around waiting. That's not how it works. The chat went quiet after that. I think everyone started realizing how messed up it really was. Even Megan didn't have much to say that a couple days passed. I thought maybe things would calm down. But nope. I got another call, this time from Sarah's sister, Rachel. Now Rachel and I always got along pretty well. So I figured maybe she was calling to check in. Nope. She went straight into, why did you cancel the wedding without talking to Sarah first? I was stunned. Didn't expect Rachel to take Sarah's side, especially after everything I told her. I said, Rachel, your sister blocked me. How was I supposed to talk to her when she literally cut me off? Rachel didn't really have an answer, but she kept pushing. Said Sarah was heartbroken, that I should have waited for her to come back so we could talk things through. That point, I had enough. I told Rachel straight up, Look, I get that you want to defend your sister, but what she did was wrong. She didn't give me any say in the whole break thing, and I'm not going to wait around for someone who doesn't respect me. If Sarah wants to explain herself, she knows how to reach me, but I'm not going to be the one to fix this. Rachel tried to say more, but I cut it off, told her I had to go, and hung up. I wasn't going to keep having the same conversation with every single person Sarah sent my way. That night, I got another message from Sarah. This time, she was apologizing. Well, kind of. She said she was sorry for how things went down, but didn't actually take responsibility for her choices. It was one of those half apologies, where she tried to make it sound like we were both at fault. I didn't reply. There was no point. She made her bed. Now she had to lie in it. I wasn't going to play this back and forth game anymore. I blocked her everywhere again, just to make sure there wouldn't be any more drama. And to the end of the day, I realized something. I dodged a bullet. If this is how Sarah acted when things got tough, I can't even imagine what marriage to her would have been like. Sure, I felt bad about the time we wasted, but I was glad it ended before it got worse. Now I could move on, and that's exactly what I plan to do. Update 1. All right. So after all the drama with Sarah and her trying to guilt-trip me into reconsidering the wedding, which didn't work, I thought things would finally quiet down. Nope, not in my life. About a week after I blocked Sarah for the last time, I got this random call from a number I didn't recognize. I didn't recognize the number. Honestly, I almost didn't answer because by this point I wasn't in the mood for more drama. But for some reason, I picked up. And guess who it was? Sarah's mom. Yeah, her mom. Like, what the hell? Now, Sarah's mom, Lisa, had always been one of those people who came across super sweet to your face, but you could tell she carried this passive-aggressive vibe just under the surface. She was the type to give you a compliment that somehow felt like an insult. You know the type. Anyway, Lisa starts a conversation off all friendly, like nothing had even happened. Hi, sweetheart. How are you doing? She says, as if we hadn't just canceled a wedding, and I hadn't blocked her daughter out of my life, that I wasn't about to play games, so I kept it short. I'm fine, Lisa. What's going on? That's when she started with the guilt trip. Oh, we were so looking forward to the wedding, and this whole thing has really devastated Sarah. You know she's been crying every day since she got back, right? She's just been a mess. I wasn't about to let her make me feel bad for Sarah, not after everything she pulled. So I told her straight up, Lisa, I'm sorry Sarah's upset, but she made her choices. I didn't call off the wedding for no reason. And then Lisa hit me with this. Well, maybe you overreacted a bit. You know, Sarah was just nervous about the whole thing, and sometimes people make mistakes when they're stressed. Don't you think you should give her a second chance? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was acting like Sarah blocking me for 6 weeks, and disappearing was just some minor mistake. I wasn't having it. Lisa, I said, this wasn't just nerves. She literally blocked me on everything and went off to Europe without saying a word. That's not something you just brush off. If Sarah was having doubts, she should have talked to me, not shut me out. But Lisa wasn't done yet. Oh no, she kept pushing. I know it seems bad, but think about all the years you've been together. You've had such a good relationship. Don't you want to try and save it? I'm sure once Sarah explains everything, you'll understand. By this point, I was getting pretty annoyed. It was like Lisa wasn't even listening to me. She was so focused on trying to get me to take Sarah back that she wasn't considering how I felt. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and said, Lisa, with all due respect, Sarah had 6 weeks to reach out to me and she didn't. I've already made up my mind. The wedding is off and that's final. I thought that would end it. But nope. Lisa had one more card to play. She goes, well, if you won't talk to Sarah, at least come over for dinner so we can talk as a family. Maybe we can work through this together. I was speechless. She was inviting me to their family dinner, like this was some kind of minor argument that could be solved over a plate of spaghetti. I knew this wasn't going anywhere. So I told her, thanks for the offer, but I think it's best if we all just move on. And with that, I hung up. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. The next day, I get a message from Sarah's dad. Now, let me tell you, Her dad, Tom, is one of those old school guys who thinks he's always right. He never really liked me, but he tolerated me because Sarah and I were together. So when I saw a message from him, I knew it wasn't going to be friendly. And sure enough, it wasn't. He basically laid into me, saying I was throwing away a good thing, that I was ruining Sarah's life by not giving her a chance to explain. He even said, "Men don't act like this. You should be standing by your fiancée, not running at the first sign of trouble." That really pissed me off. I mean, I had been standing by Sarah for years, and this is how I got treated. I didn't reply to Tom's message. I knew it would just turn into a pointless argument, and honestly, I was over it. But that wasn't even the worst part. A couple of days later, I get another message, this time from Sarah herself. She used some other number to reach out, and it was long, like multiple paragraphs long. She went on about how she was sorry for everything, how she didn't mean to hurt me, how she realized she made a mistake. She said she was confused about the wedding and needed time to think, but didn't know how to tell me. So she panicked and blocked me. Then she dropped the big one. She said she still wanted to get married. Yeah, you read that right. After all this, after blocking me, ghosting me for 6 weeks, blaming it on wedding nerves, she still wanted to marry me. It was like she was living in some fantasy where everything could just go back to normal with a simple apology. I sat there staring at the message for a while, not knowing what to say. Part of me was still angry. Actually, most of me was still angry. But there was a small part that felt, I don't know, sad. Like, we'd spent years together, and this was how it ended. It wasn't how I pictured things going at all. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't something I could forgive. It wasn't about the wedding or even the trip to Europe. It was about trust. Sarah had broken that trust, and no amount of apologies or explanations was going to fix it. I couldn't marry someone who thought it was okay to just disappear when things got tough. So I did what I should have done from the start. I blocked the number she used to text me, deleted the message, and moved on for real this time. And you know what? After all of that, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I wasn't tied down by Sarah's guilt trips or her family's pressure anymore. I could finally focus on myself and what I wanted for the future. And honestly, it felt pretty damn good. Update 2. All right, so you'd think after I blocked, you'd think after Sarah and her family kept reaching out, things would finally settle down, right? Wrong. Of course not, because that would have been way too easy. I swear, it was like they just couldn't let go of the fact that the wedding was off. They kept coming at me from every angle, almost like they were trying to wear me down. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. A couple of days after Sarah's last attempt to reach out, I get another text. But this time, it wasn't from her. It was from one of her bridesmaids, Katie. Now, Katie and I weren't exactly close. She was always nice enough whenever we hung out as a group, but let's be real, she was more Sarah's friend than mine. So when I saw her name pop up on my phone, I was immediately suspicious. Her text started off innocent enough, asking how I was doing, saying she'd heard about the breakup. The usual blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she wasn't just checking in for no reason. I kept my reply short, something like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just dealing with everything one day at a time." And then she hits me with it. "I think you should hear Sarah out." Here we go again. I just stare at my phone for a minute, debating whether I should even respond. Part of me wanted to block Katie right then and there and move on. But another part of me was curious. I wanted to see where this was going. So I asked her why she thought that. That's when Katie launched into this whole rant about how Sarah had been struggling, how she'd been crying every single day since she got back from Europe. According to her, Sarah was too scared to reach out directly because she thought I wouldn't listen. Apparently, Sarah had been telling her friends that she messed up big time, but didn't know how to fix it. I sighed, feeling that frustration bubbling up all over again. "Katie, I've heard all of this already." I gave Sarah chances to explain herself, and she didn't. She blocked me for 6 weeks, and then just expected everything to be fine when she got back. That's not something I can just forget. But Katie kept pushing, saying Sarah just needed space, that she didn't mean to hurt me. The more she talked, the more it clicked. Sarah had sent Katie to do her dirty work, thinking maybe I'd listen to someone else. Like she didn't even have the guts to face me herself anymore. That was it for me. I told Katie, "Look, I appreciate you trying to help, but this isn't something that can be fixed with a few apologies. It's over. That's it." I could tell she wanted to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. I blocked her right after that. And just when I thought, finally, I was in the clear, I get another message. This time, from one of Sarah's cousins, Mark. Now, I hadn't heard from Mark in months, so him randomly reaching out was a red flag in itself. Out of nowhere, he's texting me, asking if we could meet up to talk about everything. At this point, I was so fed up with being dragged back into Sarah's drama that I almost ignored him. But curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to know what angle he was going to play. So I agreed to meet him for coffee. When I got to the cafe, Mark was already there, looking nervous. We sat down, had a little awkward small talk, and then he finally got to the point. "Look, man, I know this whole thing with Sarah has been a mess. I just want to check in and see if there's any way you two could work things out." I almost laughed. "Mark, it's done. There's nothing to work out. She made her choices, and I made mine." He shifted uncomfortably, like he knew what he was about to say wasn't going to sit well. "Yeah, I get that, but here's the thing. Sarah's been saying she thinks she made a mistake. She's been hinting that maybe you two could try again if you gave it some time." I put my coffee down, trying to keep my cool. "Mark, no offense, but Sarah had her chance. She made a mistake. Fine. But she didn't just make a mistake. She ghosted me for weeks. She cut me off like I didn't even exist. That's not something you can just bounce back from." He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't really listening. "Yeah, but what if she's serious about fixing things? She's been talking about wanting to make it up to you." I shook my head. "Mark, I appreciate you trying to help, but it's not going to happen. If Sarah wants to move on, that's fine. But I'm not interested in picking up where we left off." After that, silence. Awkward silence. Both of us kind of knowing this wasn't going anywhere. Eventually, Mark shrugged and said, "I get it. I just thought I'd give a shot." I finished my coffee, stood up, and said, "Thanks for trying, man, but it's over. It's time for both of us to move on." He gave me a half-hearted smile, and we said our goodbyes. After that, I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the last of it. I mean, how many people could Sarah possibly send after me, right? Well, apparently I was wrong. Again, because the very next day, I get another message. This time from Sarah's aunt. Of all people. Now, I barely knew this woman. We'd met a couple of times at family events, exchanged polite small talk, but that was about it. So when her name popped up on my phone, I knew something was seriously off with Sarah's side of the family. Her aunt starts a conversation by saying she heard about the breakup and wanted to check in, see how I was doing. By this point, I was so over it that I straight up asked, "Did Sarah send you?" Her response? "Well, not exactly, but she's really been struggling, and I thought I could help mediate things between you two." I almost threw my phone across the room. "Mediate?" I texted back. "There's nothing to mediate. We're done. I don't know how much clearer I can make it." But she didn't stop. "Nope." She started in with the whole, "Love is worth fighting for. Don't throw away years of a good relationship over misunderstanding." And that's when it hit me. Sarah had probably been feeding her entire family some sob story, painting me as the one who overreacted. I didn't even bother replying this time. I blocked her and decided that was it. No more conversations, no more explanations, no more giving people the chance to drag me back into that toxic mess. I was done for real this time. After that, things finally quieted down. No more texts, no more calls, no more random family members showing up in my inbox trying to guilt me into taking Sarah back. It actually felt good, like I could finally breathe again without the weight of her drama hanging over me. And honestly, for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was really moving forward. No more waiting for apologies that didn't mean anything. No more wondering about what could have been. Just me, focusing on what's next. And that was exactly what I needed. Update 3. All right. So here's how everything finally wrapped up. And yeah, things didn't end quietly. Course not. You'd think that after blocking Sarah, her mom, her bridesmaids, and pretty much her entire family, things would just die down. But nope, that's not what happened. Because Sarah decided to make one last move. And it was the one that really showed me just how far she'd go to try and win me back, or at least get her way. So, about a month after everything went down, I get this letter in the mail. Yep, a literal letter. Like it's the 1800s or something. I almost didn't open it, because seriously, who even sends letters anymore? But the handwriting looked familiar, and I figured, why not? Maybe it was some final attempt from Sarah. Honestly, I wasn't expecting anything too crazy. Boy, was I wrong. I opened the letter, and it was this long, handwritten message from Sarah. Pages long. She poured her heart out, saying she missed me, regretted everything, blah, blah, blah. But here's the wild part. She didn't just say she was sorry. She actually wrote that she wanted to meet up again, and then mentioned that she still had the key to my apartment. Let me repeat that. She said she still had the key to my apartment. My stomach dropped. I had completely forgotten she even had one. Luckily, I'd already changed the locks once when this all started, but the fact that she still thought she had access to my place freaked me out. I immediately got up, checked the locks again, and started thinking about what to do next. But that wasn't all. The letter wasn't just an apology. It was basically her laying out a plan for how we could start fresh. She said she'd been talking to her mom about how we should go to couples counseling. She thought we could just meet up and talk face to face. We could work things out. At this point, I was more annoyed than anything. Like, seriously? She thought this was a good idea after blocking me, ghosting me, sending her entire family after me, and then acting like I was the one who needed to fix things? I couldn't believe it. And it gets better. Toward the end of the letter, she actually mentioned that she'd already started making arrangements for us to meet with a counselor. Like, she had already booked the appointments without even asking me. The audacity, right? She didn't ask if I was interested. She didn't check in with me at all. She just assumed I'd go along with it. I was fuming. I couldn't believe she still didn't get it. After everything, she was still trying to control the situation, still trying to get me to bend to her will. It was like she thought if she just planned everything out, I'd eventually give in. So I sat down and wrote her a letter back. I figured, if she wanted to play this old-fashioned game of sending letters, I'd go along with it one last time. But this time, I made things absolutely clear. I told her, in no uncertain terms, that we were done. There was no counseling, no second chances, no meeting up to talk. I told her to return the key, even though I'd already changed the locks again, and that she needed to move on, because I sure as hell was. I sent the letter back, and honestly, I felt pretty good about finally shutting that door for good. But nope, a week later, I get another letter from her. This time it was much shorter. She didn't argue, didn't try to push counseling again. She just said she understood where I was coming from, but still thought we should talk. And then she said something that really freaked me out. She mentioned that she had driven by my apartment a couple of times and saw that I wasn't home. She didn't say why she was driving by or what she was doing, but the fact that she was checking up on me like that, it sent chills down my spine. At that point, I knew I had to do something more drastic. I wasn't about to let this turn into some creepy stalking situation. I called my landlord, asked about getting extra security, maybe even cameras installed. I wasn't playing around anymore. And just when I thought things couldn't get any weirder, I get a call from my mom. Now, my mom knew about everything that had happened, and she'd been super supportive throughout all of it. But she called me to say that Sarah had actually visited her. Like, showed up at her house unannounced, asking to talk about us. I almost dropped my phone when she told me that. Sarah had gone to my mom's house to try and get her to convince me to take her back. I was pissed. Not only was Sarah crossing boundaries with me, but now she was dragging my family into it, trying to manipulate the situation through them. Luckily, my mom, bless her heart, didn't fall for it. She told Sarah that I'd already made my decision and that she needed to respect it. Apparently, Sarah got emotional and started crying, but my mom didn't back down. She told her straight up it was time to move on, After that call, I realized I needed to take one final step to end this for good. I filed for a restraining order. I didn't want to, but at that point, I felt like I had no choice. Sarah was getting too close, and I needed to protect my space and my family. When Sarah got served with the paperwork, she finally backed off. No more letters. No more visits. Nothing. It was like she finally got the message. I didn't feel great about having to go that far, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And honestly, after everything that happened, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that it's okay to stand up for your boundaries, even when people don't want to respect them. I learned that you don't owe anyone endless chances, especially when they've broken your trust. And most importantly, I learned that moving on isn't just about walking away. It's about protecting your peace and your future. So, yeah, that's it. That's how it all ended. I'm finally free from all the drama, and I'm moving forward with my life. It wasn't easy, but I made it through. And now, I'm just focused on what's next. No more looking back.